Hi, good morning and welcome to the webinar on Sandbox. Thank you for joining us today. This is Madhu, product marketer for Zoho CRM, and I will be your host. I also have a couple of support colleagues with me to help me answer your questions. Alright, before we begin this webinar, let me highlight a few things. This webinar is targeted at admins of Zoho CRM accounts. However, if you are not an administrator, you can still continue to learn how Sandbox works in Zoho CRM and recommend it to your administrators. The Sandbox feature is available in the Ultimate Edition of Zoho CRM, but on request it will be enabled in the Enterprise and Professional editions as well. And those of you interested in this feature, please send us an email at support@zohocrm.com so we can enable a trial for you. Feel free to type any questions you may have in the comment box you see in the GoToWebinar screen, and my colleagues from support will answer them for you right away. And just in case they are busy answering other questions, we'll get back to you with a reply on email. I am also recording this presentation, and I'll be sending out an email with a link of the recorded version. We will also be hosting it on our website for future reference. So what is Sandbox? As many of you may know, it's a testing environment in which a program or piece of code can be executed without affecting the actual live environment. So how is the Sandbox useful in CRM? As your business grows and expands, you may have to make changes to your CRM and your sales process. To make these changes in your live setup, you might have to stop your sales activities for a while till you roll out the changes, which would in turn affect your team's productivity. On making such changes, your sales reps might be confused to see new fields suddenly showing up, and there are chances that some wrong workflow to be triggered as you keep changing things in your live setup. So your business is at risk. It's not only that, you would also feel compelled to wrap things up quickly with customizations and configurations so as to take minimal time from your sales reps, and which leaves little room for improvisation. So the Sandbox creates an exact replica of your CRM, including your processes, customizations, and permissions, and it works just the way your actual CRM does. You can make all your changes in the Sandbox, test them if they work the way you intended them to work, and then deploy it to your organization's CRM at a suitable time. Of course, you get to do all of this without disturbing your sales team's day-to-day activities. We also release new features from Zoho CRM from time to time, so you can use Sandbox to try the new features first, get used to them, and then go ahead to implement them for your business processes. So here's the list of features that are supported in Sandbox. It will allow deployment to production for profiles, roles, data sharing settings, groups, automation and customization settings except territory management and custom schedules. Third-party extensions and APIs are not supported either. And Sandbox allows you to test what happens not only when you add new configurations, but also when you edit or delete an existing configuration. So let's move on to the product demo. We'll consider the case of Zilker Corp, a fictitious company. They have purchased Zoho CRM to manage their real estate business. So this is Zilker Corp's Zoho CRM account. They have customized it to suit their needs, right from renaming tabs, changing layouts, creating workflows, and much more. So let's go ahead and check how they have changed or customized the layouts. Let's go to the leads module and select one. So here we have the lead information, which gives us the contact details of the lead, and the property requirement tell us what kind of property they're looking for. The property type could be apartment, villa, or condo, and the housing type can be 1 to 4 BHK, The locality preference could be a city, suburbs, or the countryside, and also the budget they have in mind. Then let's next go over to the contacts module. We see that the same information has been carried forward here. And in the deals related list, we have the deals associated with this particular contact. Let's go over there. And in the deals module, we see that the stages have been customized to suit the sale of a property, like property visit, proposal or price quote, negotiation, legal review, and registration. And then again in the property list, we see that the layout has been completely customized to store data of a house, as in whether the house has been furnished or not, the age of the building, the amenities they have, and the number of floors, etc., and the cost, of course. So we see that this particular CRM has been narrowed down to the sale of a residential property, but now Zoho Corp wants to expand into the commercial real estate business. They cannot use the CRM as is because it does not have the modules, fields, and processes to accommodate data required for a commercial property. They would have to create a new page layout, change assignment rules, workflows, and so on. But making all of these changes in the live setup might not be a good idea because it might cause confusion, as there may be dynamic changes in the data, and this may in turn disturb the busy day's sales. So just to avoid such a scenario, we have Sandbox. So to access Sandbox, just go to Setup, and under Data Administration, you will find the option called Sandbox. Now you may not see this option because it is not yet configured for you. If you are, as I said earlier, if you are interested in this feature, please write to us at support@zohocrm.com and we will enable it for you. So once I click on it, it says create new sandbox. It asks for a name. And I say sandbox for commercial layout. And accessible to gives me a list of people who can access this version of Sandbox. For now, let me just give one user and say create. So the sandbox has been successfully created. The status says active, and the changes show no value in them because we haven't started making any changes yet. So let's go ahead and access Sandbox, and a copy of your Zoho CRM will be created. All the modules are just the same as in your live setup. Let's go check for workflows. Go to Setup in Sandbox, Workflow Rules. So we have around 5 workflow rules here. And let's go see what it is in the live setup. And here too we have 5. So the sandbox created is an exact copy of your live CRM. The only difference you might notice between your live setup and the sandbox version is that there is a bright orange ribbon at the top to differentiate. You might also notice that the records are not copied from your live setup. This is because we do not want any action we do in Sandbox to affect your records. So now let's go ahead and start creating the process for commercial property sale. We'll start with creating a page layout. Let's go to Setup, Modules, click on Leads, and it goes straight to the standard residential layout by default. Now let's create a new layout and call it commercial So we may be dealing with organizations looking for an office space or a warehouse. So we need to collect their details. So let's include a new field and call it org name. And one more for org phone, and a URL field for the org address. Now I will also have to change the pick list values for property type, because for residential we had villas, condos and apartments, and for an office space, for a commercial space, I include values like office space, warehouse or factory. I would not be needing this housing type field, so I remove it from this layout. I can have the locality fields as such. And for the amenities field, I change the properties as furnace, multi-level car parking, and save. Let me just go ahead and remove this one and save layout. Here I give the permission for the sales agents commercial to access this layout and save. So now the layout has been saved. Now in the earlier process there was no need for accounts module, and so it was hidden. But now we need it. So let's go to modules and say organize modules. We find accounts in the unselected tabs, choose it and push it to the selected tabs and just organize it the way you want it to. And say save. So now we see the accounts module right below the leads module. And now since we are associating every contact to an account, we need a different layout for accounts module as well. Let's go to contacts and create another one. So this is to be renamed as residential. And we create a new layout called commercial. And let's have a lookup field called org name. We look it up from accounts. It's called account and say done and save layout. Permission will be given to commercial sales agents again and save. Let's go back to modules. For convenience sake, I have already created layouts for deals and properties. And now let's go look at how the conversion mapping goes. When you hover the cursor over the three dots next to the leads module name, you'll find an option called lead conversion mapping. So here by default, the layout is residential. Let's change it to commercial. There's only one layout for standard and hence we'll just have it there. And for contacts we have two different modules, we'll change it. And again for deals, we'll change it to commercial. So now the leads from the commercial module will pass on only through this path. Then we can also map the corresponding field names here. For example, the organization website is website. Just save it. So it has been updated successfully. Alright, now that we are done setting up the modules, let's go ahead and create an assignment rule. Let's go to Automation in Setup, Assignment Rules, and say Create Lead Assignment Rule. We'll call it Commercial Lead Assignment. And let's create a rule entry. The criteria is property type is, let's say, office spaces. I'd like to choose the assignment to Tara Gonzalez. And let me add a follow-up task. Commercial follow-up phase 1, and click Save. So this has been saved. So let's go ahead and create a workflow rule. Create rule for the deals module. Rule name could be, say, thank you email for site visit. Next. Let it execute on a record action of field update when stage, alright, for stage field, and we'll say stage property visit. And next, let's send an email. We choose an alert and associate it with this workflow rule and save. So now this workflow rule has been created. So till now in Sandbox we have created tool layouts, an assignment rule, a workflow rule, and also lead conversion mapping. Let's see the difference between the Sandbox version and the live version right now. So in Sandbox, in the leads module, there are two layouts. At the same time, in the live setup, for the leads module, there's only one, which is the residential property layout. And also in the Sandbox version, let's go to setup, workflow rules. So we have created a new workflow rule here called thank you email for site visit. And back here in the live setup, let's see. There are only 5, and that particular workflow rule is not present here in the live setup. So in the live setup, when you go to data administration and go to Sandbox again, you will see the list of changes we have made. For example, in the leads module, we have created assignment rules, layouts, and a workflow task. In contacts, we have created a layout. And in deals also, we have created a workflow rule. So we also have the option to deploy these changes. But before we do that, let's test by creating a record in Sandbox. So let's create a lead here. Go to commercial layout. First name is Sarah and last name Turner. sturner@gmail.com. org name as ABC org, and organization website as www.abc.com, and the suburbs require a warehouse, and save. So now the lead has been created. When we go and convert this lead, it creates a new contact by the name of Sarah Turner. And let's create a new deal for this contact. And since the layout is commercial for the new lead, it automatically goes to the commercial layout of the deals module. Let's enter the amount as $500,000. Closing date as 25th March. And stage as property visit. And let's convert. So when we go into the contact Sarah Turner, so the contact has been created now, and the lead information has all been transferred to this module. We see that the deal has been created by the name of Sarah Turner, and the workflow rule has been triggered. So now let's move on to the live version. Go to Sandbox, and let's push all these changes to the live setup. Let me say deploy changes to production. All these changes have been pushed to the live setup. Let's go check in the leads module. Let's create a new lead. And we have two layouts here, which was not there previously. And in the contacts module, again, there are two layouts. Let's go and check if the workflow has been transferred. So we see the thank you email for site visit here, which we created in the sandbox. So we are now done with all the customization to support both business lines, residential and commercial. And that's it. Your CRM is now in safe hands with Sandbox. Go ahead and request for access, and we'll get in touch with you soon. Thank you very much and have a good day. We'll stay online for a few more minutes so you can have your questions clarified. Thank you.